A Divorce Law Guide. Chapter 1. The Legal Aspects of Divorce 1. The Legal Aspects of Divorce 1. If the relationship is dead, don't waste time on a separation agreement. Get it over with to free yourself legally. If you're both amiable with each other, you can settle by yourselves, file a few simple papers with the court and the judge will rubber stamp them, giving you the divorce hassle-free. If you don't get a legal divorce, it could come back to haunt you in two ways. If you marry again while still legally married, you could be criminally charged with bigamy. If you marry again while still legally married and die, your first wife has legal rights to your estate. It's better to be friendly than adversarial in a divorce settlement, but if one is playing hardball and hiding all the assets, you have to fight fire with fire unless you want to lose what you're legally entitled to. Divorces are emotional, but from a legal point of view, it's the termination of a business contract, therefore it's serious business, so it's no time to get depressed or angry because you lose either way. If you're angry, the judge won't take your crap and punish you in the settlement. Having said that, if you talk to any good family lawyer who has handled 50 or more divorces, he will tell you people are irrational. They will fight, hate, spit, cuss, refuse to deal with one another, refuse to take a deal, then 6 months or 2 years later, when they're all venomed out and want to get over with, they will take the deal that was offered 2 years before, so all that hate and venom was essentially useless. The golden rules of handling your divorce are: don't be angry, depressed, vindictive, ignorant of the law. According to lawyers, many people don't get what they're rightfully entitled to in a divorce, both because they're ignorant of the law and simply don't want the stress and would rather settle quickly than bother haggling over material things. But if you want your just due, you have to educate yourself by reading the law yourself. Hashtag 346.7107-7300 or K569 K574, KF510 KF547 at the library, going to nalo.com, or hiring an unfeeling, cutthroat lawyer who will get you all he can if that's the route you want to take. One has entitlements to a part of the other's company pension benefits, other company employee benefits, government social security and retirement savings plans, but you have to know about this, brush up on local laws and investigate it. Don't be an accident waiting to happen. Get some books about the legal aspects of divorce, read them, write out what you want in an unemotional way, and terminate the marriage contract with as little bells and whistles as you can. You made your decision. Finish it off as quickly as possible. Make up a net family property statement which includes everything of value in the family, including investment accounts, pensions, retirement savings accounts, real estate, business, things of value, boats, cars, jewelry, etc. Then get what you can professionally appraised by accredited experts. Lawyers are vilified because they're seen as bloodsuckers out to get as high a settlement as they can so they can collect a hefty 30% commission, but some are good, and besides, it's your only choice unless the divorce is so amiable that the two of you can solve it by yourselves and just hire a paralegal to fill in the paperwork. Generally, you will hire a family lawyer. He will most likely want a retainer, upfront money, an hourly fee, and possibly a percentage commission of whatever property he can acquire. Don't be flippant about hiring a lawyer. Get one you feel comfortable with and get the entire arrangement in a contract, what he will do for you and how much money he will charge you. If you're not happy with your lawyer, you can fire him and go through a process to recover your money, namely talk to him first. If that doesn't produce results, go to the State Bar Association. If you're not happy with that, take him to civil court or even charge him criminally if he intentionally rips you off. Your lawyer bill will always be higher than what you think it should be. If you feel he's cheating you, complain about it. Ask for an itemized bill. You don't need to hire a lawyer. You can hire a paralegal or represent yourself. If you do, follow these guidelines. Don't be angry. Don't lash out. Be patient, polite, low-key and reasonable. Be prepared. Read up on the law before you go. Have your set of reasonable demands all down on paper. Be ready to compromise. Have all court papers and other papers ready. Be civil with the opposing lawyer. Try to work out a deal with him before you step into the courtroom. Compromise to get it over with. Don't get fancy or nitpicky. Don't get vindictive. Don't use cheap shots like telephone call or video recordings. A divorce is a formal court proceeding in which a marriage is dissolved. It's just like a regular trial, both sides can plead no contest and accept the distribution terms, or one side can accuse the other of causing the divorce through adultery, the use of alcohol, etc. Grounds for divorce versus the no-fault divorce, where the one who causes the divorce by negative actions is the one who gets the least in the settlement of property, or wanting a bigger property settlement than the one offered, whereupon both sides hash it out like a regular trial. These are the two big issues. Are there grounds for divorce, or is it a mutual no-fault divorce? How do we divvy up the property, including child custody and support? Learn the laws, write out what you want simply and clearly, present it to your ex-spouse either personally or through your lawyers, and try to make a deal without going through the court system. There are alternatives to the court process of divorce like arbitration, mediation and collaborative family law. If you're interested, ask your lawyer or the court clerk about it. The laws governing divorce vary from state to state, and each state grants divorces only to its residents, which has a legal definition, usually proof of residence for 6 months, i.e. utility bills, rental agreement, home ownership, etc. Some unscrupulous men wisely move their families from a community property state to an equitable distribution state and establish residency to save money in the subsequent divorce. It is illegal to hide assets to shield them from property distribution during a divorce proceeding. Your best protection is to file a prenuptial agreement or marital agreement before marriage, specifically stating what each of you has as separate property and both agreeing that the other will not be entitled to it in the event of a divorce. Gifts, inheritances, and anything acquired after separation are separate property. In determining property distribution, the judge considers the following factors: length of the marriage, increase in couples' assets as a family partnership during the marriage, independence of each party in maintaining a good standard of living on their own either by working, inheritance, etc., the level of marketable skill the person seeking support has, the length of time the supported person was a housewife or house husband. Will the custody of children affect the supported one's ability to find and keep work? Cost of re-education for the former stay-at-home mom or dad. The modern trend for alimony is half the duration of the marriage, not for life except after the age of 60, when you're just a boor, unemployable and ready for retirement anyway. The legal aspects of divorce too. Legally, there are basically two types of divorces: the uncontested, no-fault ones, and the contested one where one wants it, the other doesn't, so the one who wants it has to give a just reason in court discussed up ahead: physical or mental cruelty, adultery, bigamy. Uncontested divorces should be easy since both couples agree to it and presumably agree on all the subsidiary issues like child custody, alimony, etc. In many cases, you just fill out the paperwork, file it with divorce court, pay the fee, and it's over. You don't even go to court. Even still, expect about 4 months for the paperwork to be processed. With no-fault laws, one spouse can't deny the other the divorce. If they both don't agree to the divorce, the process is to separate, move to a new residence, then start divorce proceedings. The court will usually wait a year before processing it, but file it right away anyway because the process is long and tedious. In divorce, nothing is laid in stone. If it goes to trial, the judge will decide the settlement based on what he feels is fair based on the law where he lives plus the information he gets from both sides. If you don't like it, you can appeal it. Contested divorces can be a nightmare. One party petitions the court with her desire for the divorce, then the other side has to file a counter petition to answer to the charges against him as the basis of the divorce, and the argument goes from there on into the divorce proceeding. The logic in fighting it is that if you're found not guilty of the charges, you won't be cleaned out by a judge who thinks you deserve to be punished. She won't have her grounds for divorce, but you won't want to be with her, so you simply file an uncontested divorce where you still get divorced but she gets less of your assets. After a divorce decision is rendered, it's not effective for 30 days, whereupon the other side has the right to file an appeal to hear the case all over again. The golden rule of divorce is that it's in your hands as a couple. Don't let the courts or the lawyers manipulate and screw you. Try to avoid lawyers if possible. Try to avoid getting trivial to get at him or her. Don't talk about him or her to others. Settle it between yourselves out of court, then just do the nominal paperwork and get it over with. Sit down, make a list of everything you both own and split it up between yourselves before you go to court. Stay firm but don't get trivial. If you can't do that, the next step up that's less serious than a court case is to hire a divorce mediator who tries to reach a settlement for the two of you out of court. If that doesn't work, you will have to go to trial with both lawyers battling it out, trying to get the best for themselves. To learn about the procedure, see if they have any pamphlets about divorce court or civil court in your area, or go to either the public library, law library, or the courts building and ask for a copy of the state/provincial laws and procedures for getting a divorce. There are divorce lawyers and family lawyers. Even though family lawyers do divorces, if your case is complex, look for a lawyer who exclusively does divorces. Tell him the truth up front. He will probably want a retainer/money upfront and charge you a fee per hour if you're the man, but if you're the woman, he will probably take a percentage of the settlement you get from your ex-husband. Beware of lawyers because they're all in it for the money, regardless of how kind and sympathetic they seem to you. You're just one of 20 or more clients he's got, so you're not that special to him, but he's wise enough to play you as his buddy. If you call up a lawyer just for a quick chat about the case, some lawyers will bill you for a 15-minute increment of time. Hire him for a clean, simple job. Keep all your paperwork and document your visits. Watch your lawyer, especially when he sends you the bill. On the other hand, you just might need a ruthless son of a bitch to get the job done. If it's going to be complicated, do some homework before you hire a lawyer. If you want to get ruthless, ask your lawyer to pick a good judge for the case. If your case is simple, you might get by with a paralegal rather than a lawyer. If you're poor, go to legal aid, but they generally only help people with criminal matters. Maybe put an ad up on a law school bulletin board to hire a law student. Don't get into a stalking/harassment hate fest with the lost love. If one side wants a divorce and you don't, you might try to win him back, but if his mind is made up, it's dead. Don't fight it, and just for your own sanity, take a step back before you go all out on the rebound to try to catch up on all that freedom you've been missing. If you really love him, get the divorce and maybe try again a year or two later. Judges differ a lot in their sympathies. They range from the Christian redneck to the radical feminist, so be selective about choosing the right one. When you go to court, remember that the judge is a human being controlled by his emotions just like everybody, so act calm, peaceful, respectful and nice. Judges hate arrogance and they will punish you ruthlessly for it. Divorce law is local, different everywhere, so you have to check with your local divorce court to find out the correct procedure. If you have some initiative, check with either your local library or your county courthouse about finding a public law library that you can use. Legally, one spouse can't throw the other out of the family home, but if the situation becomes violent, you can get a restraining order to keep him out. If you plan to divorce based on something about the husband like cruelty, violence, etc., then date him during the divorce. It will make your case look bad. Joint legal custody is the best arrangement for both spouses. Both are equally responsible for the care of a disabled child. Books about the legal aspects of divorce are at #346.71 or K569.2 and KF510 to KF535 at the library. The legal aspects of divorce 3. Traditionally, divorces have been granted only for dire indiscretions such as infidelity, adultery, desertion, felony conviction, alcoholism, impotency, perversion, drug addiction, bigamy, desertion, non-support, insanity and spousal abuse. Today, The no-fault divorce is common and legal in all 50 states. Enforcement of all divorce decrees are generally handled civilly except for child abduction by the non-custodial parent, which becomes criminal under the child abduction provisions of the Hague Convention. Some countries will help you if your child is abducted and taken to their country. Others won't. Most North American and European ones will. Contact the appropriate embassy and explain the situation to them. Some grounds for divorce are physical cruelty, domestic violence, sexual abuse, mental cruelty, mental illness, alcoholic, never comes home, antisocial, bickers all the time, etc. Adultery, separation for at least a year, bigamy, polygamy. A few other things depending on the situation and the whims of the judge. It has to be something substantial that renders living together impossible. If a wife is infertile, one judge might find it grounds for divorce, another might not. If you were a bank robber before the marriage but never told her, one judge might find it grounds for divorce while another might not. Every case is decided on its own merits. The acts of cruelty must be weighty and grave. I've seen judges reject many simple, seemingly frivolous acts of cruelty as not serious enough, such as he stays up late and makes noises when he eats. Estimates range that anywhere from 45 to 55% of all people who get married these days end up in divorce court, many within the first few years after the marriage. The proliferation of divorces has paved the way for quick and easy settlement procedures, yet many couples choose to fight it out in court for the assets, children, pets, whatever. The way to start a divorce is that one of the couple must file a petition in court. The other party must then file a response in order for the divorce proceeding to proceed amicably. If the other party doesn't file, he has less control over how the divorce proceeds, so it's always better to file a response. A divorce involves issues of property, children, and support. This can be accomplished by default, contest, or by written consent. The default occurs when one party is served notice but ignores it, or he is long gone from the scene, so the divorce is granted without his participation. Contest means that the papers have been served and both sides will hash it out in court. Written consent is basically when the two parties agree to a settlement, write it out on paper, and it sails through the system. If you can't agree, take a few days off, then try again. Get an objective friend or two to help you with splitting the property up. Paralegals will do all the paperwork once you agree to the facts for a few $100. You might be a softy, but if the other person plays hardball, you will have to play hardball too. First off, if you're the breadwinner and your wife's got some credit cards, cancel them immediately. Don't let the other drain the joint accounts or sell such things as the car or the boat. Take steps to close them all down or freeze them until the court judgment. Do the same with joint investments like stocks and mutual funds. Get everything organized. Write out all your assets and debts, both jointly and individually. If you get professional help in any capacity, don't just settle on the first person you come across. Do some research to find someone good who will help you out. Change your insurance policies and your will/trust. The breadwinner typically continues to provide for the children's health insurance. When filing taxes for your final year together, figure both jointly and individual and go with the cheapest. If the case is going to be long and drawn out, make arrangements for temporary alimony and child support. Make a list of what you own, what your spouse owns, and what you both own together. Through all the confusion, you will probably find yourself short of money at some point, so live frugally. Don't move into an expensive hotel or anything like that for some irrational reason like anger or revenge. The most simple options for divorce are to go to the state court office, pick up the papers and fill them out yourself, or you could buy a do-it-yourself divorce kit available at bookstores. There are legal services that offer simple divorce services for a low fee of around $50 to $100. A third option is to get one lawyer or paralegal to simply handle an amicable divorce. The dirtiest divorce I ever saw was the wife who falsely accused her husband of molesting their children who were too young to speak for themselves. I heard of another one where the woman punched herself, scratched herself, and claimed that he did it. The lesson here is that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, so if she goes bitchy on you, fight fire with fire. It always comes down to money. Your spouse can make an accusation, file divorce papers, and either have you arrested or get kicked out of the house with police escort with no forewarning, so take precautions if you feel the tension mounting towards oblivion. Tap her phone, feel her out, make your divorce plan before it actually happens. If you've got bad habits like booze and babes, cut it out for a while so they can't be used against you in court like some secret surveillance video of you cheating on your wife in a parking lot. If you're a man and you're fighting for the kids, ask yourself if you really want them. You're trying to fill a void and spite your wife, and you think the kids might do it, but you're probably really better off without them. If you're a woman and you don't want the kids, just start hanging out in nightclubs and drinking booze. They will question your fitness as a parent and you will be home free. If you feel strongly about not paying alimony, argue it in court. Act as poor as possible and argue against all the living expenses your former wife will claim. Attorney Referral Network. 800-624-8846. Computerized service, recommends attorneys in your area. Single parent after divorce. Most single parents by divorce as opposed to single parent by choice have a tough go of it money-wise. Go to hashtag 332.024 or HG179 at the library to find books about money. To look for job books, go to number 331 and hashtag 650.14 plus Get My Jobs book. For business startup info, go to hashtag 650-659 and Get My Business and Self-Employment books. The first thing that you have to have a sense of where you stand money-wise. What are you worth? What do you take in? What are your bills? What do you spend money on that you don't have to? Live in the smallest place you feel comfortable in. Drive the smallest car possible. You really don't need many material things beyond the basics. That's a myth perpetrated by the capitalist system through all the commercials and glitzy shows on TV. Money should not be an emotional tool, i.e., spending money to feel better. It should be function, the means to an end. The end is you living a great life by knowing your true identity and releasing that natural energy day by day. If you're interested, you can read my book A Free Spirit's Search for Enlightenment. If you live in a big house that you got in the divorce settlement, sell it and move into a cheaper house. Pay your mortgage off or sell the house if the mortgage is high. Get out of debt. Do not live by wishful thinking or fairy tale fantasies. Live real by what you got and where you are. Don't watch the entertainment news shows that glorify the lifestyles of material excess and glamour what that is. If you're not divorced, get a separate bank account from your spouse and save your money. You have to live like I do. I went from a charmed life money-wise to a pauper's life by choice because I hated my job and preferred to live freely rather than waste my life doing something I wasn't interested in. My life as a humble man was better than my life as a yuppie. I simply stopped trying to be trendy, buying stuff because cool people supposedly had those things. You really don't much. I proved it to myself when all I owned was in about 6 boxes and I barely touched what was in those boxes for months at a time. If you're over 55, buy life insurance on yourself for your kids. Name legal guardians for your kids in case you die or go to jail. Fill out a guardianship form. Try lawdepot.com. Live as frugally as possible. Save what you can for your children's future higher education. Tell your ex-spouse to contribute to the children's needs. Even if you work a full-time job, get my self-employment book to look for an idea to start a part-time business on the side. Keep 2 credit cards at the most. Eliminate most entertainment costs. I don't eat at restaurants because food is function to me, plus it wastes my time. I'd rather sit home and cook something without driving to some restaurant. Live below your means and save the rest. Buy a used car. Spend wisely. Be a good consumer. There are tax breaks for parents. Get the IRS booklets. Child Tax Credit. Publication 503, Child and Dependent Care Expenses. The Earned Income Tax Credit is for low-income parents, irs.gov. If you get child care as with daycare, fill out IRS Form W-10, Dependent Care Provider's Identification and Certification to get the child care tax break. Your employer can set up a dependent care account which you contribute some of your earned income into to help pay for child care tax-free. Financial help for single parents. wm8c.com/single-mother/assistance/financial-help-mother-single.php. financialadvice-info.com/free-financial-advice-information/financial-assistance-for-single-parents. Chapter 2. The Legal Aspects of Divorce 2. Transmutation Agreement. The transmutation agreement converts a community property asset into a separate property one or vice versa. State laws cover them. This can be done for one asset or everything each owns. Barring talk about a divorce settlement, one advantage of each spouse having a transmutation agreement is that if one is sued, this agreement stops the creditors from going after what the spouse owns as separate property. You can write up a transmutation agreement either before or after a marriage. Even if you don't plan to divorce anytime soon, some couples get these agreements in order to protect themselves in case one or the other is sued. Divorce paperwork. In order to get your case ready up front, get all your paperwork in order, then file at the appropriate county court and get a matrimonial lawyer, aaml.org. Bring relevant paperwork to both. After you file a petition for divorce, which is just the basic first piece of paperwork like an application form, the husband must be served the petition either by you or a process server. If he refuses and runs away or can't be found, you have to show intent on finding him by publishing a little ad in your local newspaper saying you're looking for him for a divorce proceeding involving him, and if he doesn't respond within a reasonable amount of time, about 3 months, you get the divorce by default. If it's amicable, you can both agree to support during the interim, but if the two of you are feuding, you will probably have to file papers for temporary support, alimony, visitation, etc. After this is the informal, lawyers voluntarily giving each other information about their side, and formal, the necessity to get information by subpoena because of an uncooperative spouse, discovery phase where both sides exchange information with each other to help determine disbursement of assets and support payments. This phase can take anywhere from a few days to several months depending on how amicable the spouses are and how much they want to stay at peace or fight each other. The other lawyer may request that you be deposed, whereupon you have to come in and legally answer all his valid questions. Give only the information he wants. Don't volunteer any more than this. If you don't go to your deposition, you will be in contempt of court and the judge could fine for your spouse immediately. The basic paperwork is as follows. Photocopies are best. Marriage license. Either birth certificate or piece of paper with full names and birth date of each spouse. Either birth certificate or piece of paper with full names and birth date of each child. Also a brief discussion of costs of raising with extenuating costs like private school, skating lessons, therapy for disability, etc. Your intention of custody should also be mentioned, what you want out of the deal, full custody, joint custody, or if you're willing to give up custody and/or parental rights. Addresses of all residences in the past year. Information about previous marriages for both spouses. A copy of the divorce decrees. Any prior legal papers regarding prenuptial agreements, separation, or custody regarding the kids. If domestic violence or criminal activity is an issue for the grounds of cruelty, include all copies of criminal paperwork. If adultery is an issue, explain it. If it's not a no-fault divorce, explain the grounds and circumstances, physical cruelty, mental cruelty, or adultery. Document it with paperwork such as a police report for physical injury or a mental report showing that you suffer from anxiety disorder. Information about your intention. Do you want to try to save it? Did you already try? Did you go to marriage counseling, have a former reconciliation, etc.? The date and length of any separation, either with legal papers or not. Federal, state, and local income tax returns for the past 3 to 5 years. Corporate or partnership federal and state tax returns of your business for the past 3 to 5 years. Prenuptial or separation agreement. All documents relating to income such as payroll stubs and W-2 or 1099 forms, statements of interest or dividend income, account statements from stockbroker or financial advisor. Bank statements of all accounts. Real estate deeds. All investment assets, such as bank CDs, stocks, mutual funds, etc. Pension and retirement plan statements and records for 401k plans, IRAs, KIAs, etc. Employer-provided benefits like stock options. List of all assets worth anything from furniture to a bike. Copies of all insurance policies. Appraisals of any relevant personal property or business. Contents of any safety deposit boxes. Any gifts or inheritances. Copies of the will. Passport, birth certificate, and social security card. Any love letters or contracts where one pledges to take care of the other, provide for her, etc. List debts, credit card records and loans. Other important documents or records. Free divorce forms online. CompleteCase.com. iDivorceForms.com. MyDivorcePapers.com. MyDivorcePapers.com/online-divorce.php. TexasLawWelp.org/resource/do-it-yourself-court-forms-free. ARLegalServices.org/divorce packet. Courts.state.va.us/forms/home.html. Courts.wa.gov/forms. FlowCourts.org/./familylawforms.html. FloridaDivorce.com/./free Florida Divorce Legal Forms. FreeDivorceForms.net. Free-documents.com/free-divorce-forms.html. Free-online-divorce-forms.com. Free-online-divorce-forms.com/Michigan-divorce-forms.htm. Free-online-divorce-forms.com/Oklahoma-divorce-forms.htm. LegalZoom.com. MyDivorceUSA.com/divorce-forms. tncourts.gov/help-center/court-approved-divorce-forms. us-divorceforms.com. uslegalforms.com/divorce. wikihow.com/file-divorce-online. Divorce form websites. NewYorkDivorcePapers.com/forms.html. Documents.legal.sr/divorceformsa.html. LegalFormSupermarket.com/about/divorce.html. QuickDivorce.com. Hometown.aol.com/FLAattorney/page5.html, family and divorce forms. AmericanLegalReview.com/divorce/index.html. QuickDivorce.com. NewYorkDivorcePapers.com/legalseparation.html. Women and divorce. You have certain rights to your husband's property in a divorce. Generally, the universal law is that whatever was earned or acquired during the marriage is split down the middle. Even if the husband did all the earning, even if he owns the business, you're entitled to part of it, usually a cash settlement, and you're also entitled to part of his retirement plan if you were a stay-at-home mom who raised the kids via the Qualified Domestic Relations Order/QRDO, which must be served on the plan administrator to disperse part of the payment to the non-working spouse upon retirement. Make a list of what you each had separately before you married and what you acquired together after the marriage. Your best bet is a female divorce attorney who knows about women's rights, preferably a feminist who likes women. Get all your paperwork in order, make a list of all your joint possessions, pick what you want for yourself, then negotiate for them. Try to find all the hidden assets like what's in the safety deposit box and everything your husband owns that has significant value like real estate property, boats, airplanes, etc. Have cash assets ready for the split. There are tax consequences of divorce. A lot of women stay in bad marriages because of the money, but this is a horrible reason to stay married. Get your act together and get out. Widowhood poses many of the same problems as divorce. Plan out the death of your husband because it will probably be before you. There are Social Security survivor benefits, SSA.gov. Don't get ripped off by outrageous funeral costs. Have the estate all planned out. You can always sell the home and buy a smaller one or get a reverse mortgage. Get a job if you have to. Go to school, get a skill, then start working somewhere. Popular jobs for seniors are working with other seniors, such as in a care facility/nursing home. Books about widowhood are at #155.937 and #301.428 at the library. Legal books are at number 343. DivorceDefensC.com, for women. DivorceForHer.com, divorce for women. WomansDivorce.com. American Association of Retired Persons. AARP Fulfillment. 601 E St. N.W. Washington, D.C. 20049. 202-872-4700. 202-728-4370. AARP.org. Free pamphlet, Widowed Persons. National Association of Widowed People. POB 3665. Springfield, Illinois 62708. 217-522-1700. National Displaced Homemakers Network. 1625 K St. N.W. Number 300. Washington, D.C. 20006. 202-467-6346. 202-628-6767. Help for divorced women to get back on their feet. Pension Rights Center. 918 16th Street Northwest. Number 704. Washington, D.C. 20006. 202-296-3776. Book your pension rights at divorce, what women need to know. Chapter 3. The legal aspects of divorce. 3. Marriage annulment. An option to a divorce is an annulment where one party petitions the court to annul the marriage, declare that a valid marriage never existed, usually done instead of a divorce for political and religious reasons. Annulments can be done either religiously or legally. Religiously, if you're a divorced Catholic and want to remarry in the Catholic Church, you have to get an annulment through the church first, but this doesn't affect the legal status of your marriage at all. Go to your parish priest. He will set up a church court called a marriage tribunal who will discuss your divorce and possibly ask for friends and relatives to speak on your behalf. Your ex-spouse will be contacted and invited to attend. The general gist of it is to paint a picture that your ex-spouse was the bad seed, not you, such as in cases of domestic violence, alcoholism, inability to support the family, etc. The tribunal then retreats, deliberates, and makes a decision. If you don't like it, you can appeal several more times, taking your case to Rome if need be. This process could take anywhere from 2 months to several years. A legal annulment is a court order which states that the marriage wasn't valid in the first place, therefore legally, it doesn't exist. Legal annulments are based on either of the following factors. One spouse lied, misled, or defrauded the other. Never consummated sexually. Bigamy. Marriage before attaining legal age. Forced marriage under duress, i.e. shotgun wedding. Get married while intoxicated. Impotency or physical incapacity. Fraud. Married to a relative. Mental illness. Criminal. Disease like AIDS which you kept from spouse. Misrepresentation of a major aspect about your life. Unwillingness or inability to have children. The fraud factor assumes that if your spouse had known this about you, they never would have married you. For example, if your wife was a porn star and never told you, you could argue that you never would have married her if you knew this about her. The fraud factor has been stretched many times to grant annulments. In one case, a woman wanted an annulment because her husband cheated her by not disclosing that he was Nazi officer during the war, and this was 30 years after the war ended. Another woman wanted an annulment because her husband went back on his pledge that he wanted to have children, and still another claimed that she couldn't have sexual relations with her husband because he smelled so bad. An annulment will not affect your legal responsibility to your children. Reconciliation info. On the verge of divorce, some couples decide to reconcile and try again. The law generally works that if you're together for at least 90 days, you have to start the 1 year of separation condition all over again. Even though this is technically the law in many places, it's conveniently ignored if the couple fails at their reconciliation. They just set a new court date and get on with the divorce. Retravail International. 800-470-2230. Couples in troubled marriages, possibly separated, who want to reconcile.